Hey people, one of my most favorite things in the world is titties. So I knew exactly what this said when I started to read it. And there's a difference between titties and titties. You know, they say titty is an alternative spelling of titty. And you can see the spelling here, a T-I-D-I. And you know, I tell you that they mix up the T and the D in many languages. And so a titty and a titty, you know, is almost interchangeable. But this gives us a better definition. It says, and now the city was large, large, and spacious. You know, they got three words here that they say are large. But two of these aren't large. You know, this and the yachties, they say that's the hands. You know, every time it comes up, they say it's the hand. And here, the rubbit. You know, they say it's broad, wide. And the Godula, they always say that's great, you know. And so you got three different words meaning big here. And so it's not words, it's just groups of letters. And what it actually says is to rub. And then the T-I-D-Y-S, the rub titties. A guy doula. And so a guy doula, a doula is a woman who is employed to provide guidance and support to a pregnant woman during labor. You know, it's the one that holds your hand. You know, it means to touch. You know, and that's just the doula. The guy in front of there means the guy doula. You know, the one to help guide through. You know, physical comfort through techniques such as touch and massage. And so when I first looked at this, you know, it's in the whore, rub it titties to guy doula. And, you know, they say that the whore is the city. And it's what the eye make first, you know, what stands out. And also, you know, the oi is the call, you know, and the caller. And the caller. And then the line up top, you know, says come back and read this WHO two more times. And the whore, woohoo, rub it titties. And so this line is going to help to figure out the markings underneath here and the time that the markings are read. You know, you see two sets of vowel points underneath this H. And underneath this B, you know, you have the one vowel point they say is an A. And then this other mark means to skip this letter. And so what it means is two different times that you're reading through it. And so at one time it's going to be read bot, and the other time it's going to be the rich titties. You know, rich. Something's rich. It's big. It's large. So this Nehemiah 7, it looks like this. You know, you have three lines explaining, and then it starts a single line here. This is 4, the one we was reading, and 5 ends with a P, meaning the face value. And then it starts a big paragraph here where it's going to end 31 lines with this S after every line. It's going to have this S after it, meaning support or secret, you know, or cipher, have to cipher through the numbers. So I believe, you know, with the D, titties, you know, is big old titties. And with a T, you know, like itty bitty, you know, spelt with a T means small, you know. And you see that the yachty is handy, and yeah, the big old titties are handy. You know, during a famine, which happened much in the Bible, you know, you would hire a set of titties to get your nourishment. And even, you know, when it wasn't a famine, you know, the ancient queens that want babies nursing them, they would hire a mother to titty their children. So not all these old Bibles had all these markings. You know, this is just the genius's Bible, you know, with all these markings. But a lot of people were just reading it, you know, one time through. And the whore, rub titties, and guidel, and you see it's spelled a little different here. It doesn't have the U in it, you know, and a godel here. And godel is Arabic, screw. And screw, and has moth, and has little in touch, vain, wane, and to shrink, entice, baptize. That's where you are to hypnotize. The ties is the part that got you eyes, the ties, hypnotize, entice, and novice, and vs. And this is the real word for in the beginner, in the novice. So it could be read one time like that. And the whore rub it titties. And the guide will to those moth, to those little. Moth is the smallest constellation. And that's what this is about, is astrology. When you join the Navy, you go to boot camp, everything's about sex. It's the only way to get, 18-year-old kids to remember anything. Make it about sex. And those moth, and those little in touch, in T-U-C-H, in touch, vain, and to shrink back, to wane, in ties, in novice. And you see this novice better here, rebuilt, the dot after the vav here means you're reading two times, in new, be new, vise, novice, and novice, and VVIS, novice, in a beginner. And then I'm going to read it again using the bottom markings. And so I believe, this time I'm going to read the first set of vowel points. And so the B will read in this line, and the second time I read the upper markings, the second time it omits the B. And so, this word's the same, and the whore, and, this says A, the R-A-C-H, the rock B, the rockin' titties, and the whore rockin' titties. And this, might be read, the titties, Sue, S-U, the titties, you, and the whore rockin' titties, you, a guide will, who, the WL is the will, and the H reading here. And then the mark down here says that this isn't a final M, so it's actually read as who, home, H-O-M, and then come back and read this, O, and now it's a S, being it's a final, and who homos, who home as, M-O-T, and then T-E, the tet is the TH or the TE without a point underneath, and who homos, a motum, M-O-T-E-M-O, the modem of. A modem is a device that converts the signal, what mode it's in. All these little points under here, these are modems, they convert the signal. And who homos, who home as modem, of, and then the two little dots under here, they say this is an E, but this is an I, I'm pretty sure. And the same is in the Egyptian, when I tell you, the two is the I, to re-up is actually R-I, and the third is the U, and the modem of by touch, and then it's the way, and then you read the N here with the nay, and N-A-Y is not. They'll say it, nay is yes in the Greek, because they got the Greek totally flipped. But everywhere in the world, the way, the nyan, the way not in, and then B-A, or B-E, bin, in, be in, and then the T-I-M, in time. It's not a final M here, because it comes back and grabs the BT, in time, in time, in at, be in at, in time, in at. And the way nyan, to denyin, the way nyan, in time, in at, by novice, by a beginner. And the whore rocking titties, to a guide will, who home as. And then, the two dots under the M, my, M-Y, to my O-T-E-M, to my autumn. And so the whore rocking titties to a guide to home as my autumn. Autumn is fall, and that's what's happening at Virgo, and that's the whore rocking titties. And it's a whore rocking titties because the ancient artist, showed her, she done took off her bra. This is the bra, le bra. And all your Hebrew words for virgin are everything but a virgin. It's in tool. And that was the tool of the mariners. That was the favorite constellation of the sailors. The Virgo was the god of sailors. It's always a woman holding the scales of justice. And you see her right here by a hootie hoo, Virgo, and she done took off her bra. And so, the woman knows the justice. All women, one titty is bigger than the other. And don't never tell them one titty's smaller. Always tell them one's bigger. And this is an ancient truth. You see old mat of truth up here. And you know that the Pharaoh's people were homos. You got men operating the scales here. The men at the scale of justice. The homos. And why whore rocking titties to a guide will Y, W and Y down here. Y to guide we home as from autumn of by touch or by took he the way knowing. And the W-A-Y-N-A usually give it a O, the knowing, the way knowing in time, in at by novice, a beginner, as the first one you learn is Virgo. And then it reads another time with the upper markings. And so it's end the whore, and then W-H-O, the first time, W-H-O, and then come back again. And the whore who, and then war, W-H-O-R-H-T. And the whore who wore it, yadum, handum, and then come back and get this, the D-I-M, and then the final S one more time, S. And the whore who wore it, handum dimes. And so, that's your dime, your liberty. You got Lady Liberty on the dime. Liberty and Mercury. Liberty mean to liberate the breast, to pull the bra off. And this is the astrology that still sits in your money. Virgo is Mercury, is home in Virgo. Even if they change the face on it, it's still liberty. And it's the Libra tie. And if you look into the Libra constellation, you'll see that it was created not long ago because of the expansion of space there, and one of Virgo's tits was getting bigger than the other, and so it had to be liberated. It was just Scorpio nipping at her feet there, and they added a Libra in between to balance out. And then you see it's got some vowel points above too. And this is the newest one on me I'm trying to figure out, but I believe it's adding, the I when you're reading it with this upper pass. And so, in the whore who wore it, handum dimes, into God will lie, it's not L-I-E, and will lie, and has moth, and has little, by touch, the wane, to shrink back, to wane, and has moth by touch vein, in ties, be novice, and be a new one, and to rebuild, the N-U-V. They'll say the dot inside the letter means double letters when it's not the first one, but I believe what it means is to grab the vowel points And when it's here in the middle, if it doesn't have a vowel point, it means just double up that letter. And so it's B-N-U-V-I-S. By novice, be novice, be new. And the whore who wore it, hand 'em dimes. And a guide do lie, to has little, in touch vain, be ties in novice. Or be ties by novice, by the new is. And so this upright line here, it possibly means don't read the final letter on the second pass. You see it has two sets of vowel points, and by the new. And this word comes from the ancient Egyptian, benu. And it's the same, as the Hebrew word for the sons, spelled with a B-N-I. Most of the time, they're spelled many different ways, but always the B-N. But it's the benu, and to renew, and the ben is the sons, and they have you think that it's the S-O-N, son, but it's the S-U-N, sons. You have 12 sons of a year. And this is what I was looking at, this word for pusher. I showed it in that last movie, the pusher, the pushware. And it says the sons of pusher, 1,247. And if you do the math, he's going to have hundreds of wives to do that. But if you do the math and you take this 1,247 and divide it by the 12 sons per year, it gives you a lot better number. And the pusher was 103.9 years old. 104 years old makes a lot better sense. A sun, is B is N, the N is the cycle, and the I is to make, the bing, and the clock bings in its cycle. And with the marking down here and the markings here, it actually reads, to B-I-N, to bing, and then backwards here, B-I-N, and then I, the bing bing, bing bing, bing bing, the bing bing pusher. The bing bing pusher is the sun, and it travels around its 12 homes, the bing bing pusher. And then alphamatize. And it's the same place where that word, like I told you, hypnotize comes from. The alphamatize. The bing bing pusher, alphamatize. It means to put it in a letter, in an alphabet. The alphamatize. R-A-R-B-O-Y-S. Our boys use, U-S-E. The little dot up here says this S is followed by an H or an E. They'll tell you it's just an H, but the H is the E. And to use in O-E is in odal. Odal is its heirs. And the bing bing pusher, alphamatize. And actually, this is just read, the first time through. The bing pusher, the time pusher, alphamatize. Our boys to use in odal, into air. And it's not till you read it the second time, with the marking here where it's the bing bing pusher, and the alpha time, T-I-M, the time from at, in the alpha into the letter from a time from at. And then, R-N, oi, to call, and then M-O-I-S, R-N to call, mois. Mois is moist, a month. Bing bing pusher, alpham, a time. From at, R, in, call, the month. And the use of, the use in air, to use in odal. So, like I said, this is ancient technology. If you want your man to remember something, write the message on your memories. If there's something you want him to remind you about, write it on your memories. So I'm going to finish this out right here with these memories, in case somebody clicked on this thinking it was going to be all about titties. Good day.